Hi, Assalamu alaikum. So I have been a Muslim now for about a year and a half, and I am beginning to understand this idea that Islam is not just a religion, but it's a way of life. But how does Islam actually counter what feels like this deep and pervasive rotting of our moral core, our sense of responsibility to each other, to truth, to something higher than ourselves? Why does Islam offer us such a sense of clarity when so much around us feels directionless? There's a philosopher I recently began learning and reading about named Alasdair MacIntyre. He'd actually died in May, and I've begun reading some of his work. He argued that modern society has lost its ability to speak coherently about morality. We still use the language, virtue, justice, integrity, but we've forgotten the system that gives those words any meaning. It's like having a phone with all these great apps on it, but no signal. So we've got the tools for a moral life, but we're cut off from the source. MacIntyre called this collapse emotivism, the idea that moral judgments are just expressions of how we feel in the moment. If it feels right, it must be right. If it feels wrong, then it's probably wrong. There's no real structure, it's just instinct. Morality becomes vibes, not truth. And for some people that works for a while. Some of us are naturally moral people who haven't lost their connection to their own innate fitra. But more and more, it's looking like that's the exception and not the rule. We're watching Christians in Florida support the building of a literal concentration camp for migrants. We're watching Jews in the US and Israel justify a brutal genocide in Gaza, calling it self-defense. These are people from traditions that claim moral clarity. But when the test comes, that clarity collapses into tribalism and fear and power. So I think that's what happens when the fitra itself is buried and divine guidance is ignored. When morality becomes a tool for defending your side instead of a standard that holds everyone accountable. Okay, so now look at Islam. In Islam, morality isn't something you improvise. You're not meant to invent the meaning of morality whole cloth, nor are you meant to decide all by yourself what is good and what is not good. You are meant to follow what Allah has revealed. But that guidance does not come in a vacuum. It aligns with something that's already within you, your fitra. Islam teaches that we were born with a sense of moral awareness, an innate recognition of good and evil. Revelation doesn't replace that awareness. It sharpens it, it protects it, and it calls you back to it when the world tries to bury it. So you're not navigating blind. Islam connects your soul to something higher, and it anchors that connection in scripture as well as human nature. So this is what MacIntyre saw in traditional moral systems: coherence, community, purpose. Before the Enlightenment, people understood themselves as part of a moral order. You didn't make up your purpose, you lived within your purpose. Your role as a parent or a teacher or a neighbor or a warrior came with standards of excellence, with responsibilities bigger than yourself. But what happened during the Enlightenment is that morality got privatized. And the Enlightenment said, believe what you want, just keep it to yourself. The individual, himself or herself, became sovereign, and shared moral frameworks disappeared. And here's the contradiction at the heart of it all, and what I feel like we don't really stop to examine. Liberalism claims to stand above the moral fray, but it is deeply entangled in it. It pretends to be neutral while aggressively shaping the values of entire societies. And if you want to see where that idea reached its final apotheosis, look at America today. This is a culture built around the sanctity of personal choice, the worship of self-determination. And the result is a moral vacuum. And into that vacuum swoops consumerism, ideology, performative politics, and people like Trump who reflect the culture perfectly. No sense of duty, no moral compass, just ego, leverage, power. The philosopher that I was discussing earlier, MacIntyre, he warned that once we abandon a shared moral language, we lose the ability to argue. All that's left is manipulation. But Islam does not bend in that chaos. It doesn't treat morality as like a brand. It treats it as obedience. Submission to a reality bigger than the self, a reality that holds us accountable and calls us towards excellence. Islam teaches that you're not just here to feel good or look good, you're here to be good, to embody goodness. And being good means being grounded in what is right. That's why Islam resonates today with so many Americans. It doesn't offer freedom from limits. It offers freedom through purpose. MacIntyre was not Muslim, But his critique of modernity points straight towards what Islam preserves, a moral architecture that answers not only how to live, but why. So I hope that this has given you some food for thought.